This is Garrett Fry, the 3D digital map painting sequence lead for the construction site sequence. We're taking a look at shot 620. So let's go ahead and play that. So we start down low and we pan up into this construction site that they've just kind of dug out of the ground that used to have a building there. You can see all of the remnants of what used to be there, and now they've dug it out and they're going to be building it back up again. So you can see in this layout, there's a couple of things that you're going to want to preserve. We have like a real distinct pattern here on the ground that's coming from this guy right here. And so we're going to want to keep that clear because that stuff is just really great stuff to have in a map painting. So we're going to want to leave that there. But we do have a bunch of different open spaces. So we have this space here, this space here, in different places throughout here. So the direction that we've been given on this shot is to fill this area up with construction site material. And so, and in a lot of ways, this is really nice because you have some built-in perspective lines already in this shot that are very, very distinct. So you can follow those perspective lines anytime you're placing any of your building material. And a lot of that building material has pretty straight edges to them, if there be boxes or pieces of wood or something like that. So you can really follow the perspective of these pretty darn well and just kind of nail that perspective, which is going to be really important for this shot. So when you are placing things, you're going to want to make sure that that you are matching the construction material that's around it. You know, you want to be putting something right here, and it needs to have the same look and feel as the things that are around it. And that's the great thing about this construction site sequence, is that it allows you to be able to really just kind of nail. You say, this right here looks this way, and this here looks this way, but the thing I'm putting in is a little more shiny, so I gotta like split the difference between the two and make some decisions about how this is going to look inside this environment. One thing that you're going to want to consider is that it is wet in this environment. So it's just rained, or it's rained maybe a couple hours ago, and there's things that are still wet. You can see there's big puddles through here all throughout. And so when you're putting something in there, you're going to want to make sure that it has a feeling of being wet. So this piece of wood here and this piece of wood here, you can see kind of has a wet feel to it. There's a little bit of gloss on the top of that. And things dry at different rates. And so the things that are metal are probably at this point pretty dry. You can see this thing up here. That looks dry up here. But that wood down there and the mud here looks pretty wet. And so when you're putting things in there, if you're going to put something right into this area, it's got to be sitting in the mud. And so there's probably some water leaking up into whatever you're putting in there. If you're putting wood into different places, then there's probably like where the edges are meeting together, or there's going to be maybe a little more accumulation of water. And so you're going to want to try to simulate that in your look. As soon as you plop something in here and put it right there, I think you're going to immediately say, ooh, that looks kind of dry. And so I need to learn how to treat it differently in order to do that. And a little trick with that is typically things that are wet are going to get just a slightly more saturated. And you're going to want to learn how to do a little bit of a specular highlight on something that you're trying to simulate water. So you can see the little specks of specular highlight that are throughout here that you can do with adjustment layers. Before you jump into your shot, it's a good idea to review the library of construction site materials. Do a bunch of quick matte painting tests by dragging photos into your shot and doing quick integrations. You will soon be able to discern the appropriate reference you should use for your shot.